But similar to the blinding snow. And this I think is probably more known. Like it just makes sense. But like, if you also live somewhere where it doesn't get cold, do you know, like, do people know that like the cold hurts? Like, it seems like a stupid question to ask, but I feel like I want to ask it anyways, because like the heat. Okay, the heat obviously can hurt due to, you know, sunburns, right? That makes sense. And you know, like I've established, it's easier to get a sunburn in the winter technically, but you're more covered up, so it doesn't happen as often. But like, because it gives you like a stinging sensation, which is the worst part about the cold. I think is the sting you get after you come back inside after it's you've been out in the cold. And like, to warm your hands up, you like run your hands under cold water because the cold water from your faucet is actually warmer than your hands are. It sucks. Anyways, nobody said it was easy. The temperature inside McMurdo's nuclear reactor was cold, and so was the mood. While the rest of the Grand Station prided itself on keeping things warm and livable, Wallman had been forced to reduce heating inside the plant facility due to the repeated issues with the reactor. He stood inside against the wall in the biggest, thickest jacket that he had, while watching his shivering colleagues head out from break from work. "Hey, Kenneth, why don't you take a smoke break with us?" Wallman jumped out, the voice behind him. He whipped his head around to find Jeremy and a sheepish smile on his face. "Jesus Christ," Wallman said, out of breath. "Don't do that again." Jeremy raised his hand as a show of peace and displayed a lighter. The old engineer looked at the as if it was a gun. "Don't worry, I know better than using this inside the building. Come on. The view from the observation hill is great now that the winter is over. Let's take a break." For a moment, Wallman felt himself wanting to say yes. Then he thought of the prior months and how they managed to cover the cracks. It had cost him comfort, and it had given them working hours stretching over entire days. And despite it all, it felt as if they continued to hop on one emergency to the next. He turned away from Jeremy, almost feeling the young man's smile fall. "Don't bring that lighter in here again," Wallman called out, walking off, adjusting his glasses. He pictured what he saw in the mirror this morning. A man with unruly hair and baggy red eyes. Nobody said the job was easy, and he heard the door behind, or close behind Jeremy. But the break only lasted a few minutes anyways. People living in cold climate, you know you can get sunburned? The heat won't blow wind like icicles in your face outside? Exactly. You're just getting pelted with like little projectiles. Allocate more supply to you. But the thing is though, like when you live in southern Ontario, it also gets hot here. You know, obviously not to like the same extent as like Arizona or something like that. But it can still reach into like the high 30s. Which is, you know, about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Which again is not as hot as, you know, Florida summers. Like I'm not saying that, but the island beyond the ice. "The situation, Mr. Lynch," chimed Rip Sulkin, smooth professional CIA voice. "What is it?" "The grip of Germania over the jungles of Madagascar wavers, as does the loyalty to its the Reichskommissar." Lynch spoke with a sharp wit befitting his hairline. "Friends of mine in the agency have passed on reports that have strongly suggested that Emil Morris's desire to defect to America. This could be it, sir, or a golden opportunity to kick the Nazis out down to size." Rip rose, walking over to the window, his eyes consulting the torrents of frigidity, the harsh storm that defined the world. Much like his entire being, in contrast to the elements, an ill-fitting badge glinted on his chest. It was of the MACA-SOG, Military Assistance Command, Antarctica, Studies and Observation Group. Technically beholden to the Antarctic Command, technically limited to the Antarctic waters of jurisdiction. All just words, meaningless words. Rip was beholden to a loyalty stronger than anything, which made him and his badge home anywhere in the world. He and the agency had an understanding. American interest did not end where the Indian Ocean ended. Begin Operation Graveyard. It's also great, like, if you shower in the morning, if you're a morning shower, like I am in the winter, and then, you know, your hair just freezes. Always a fun time. We do have a lot of political power. Is there really anything I can spend this on? Oh, Madagascar. Okay, no, this is command power, so this is different. But right now, command power really only we can spend on you. That gives us command power and army experience, which again is useful for these operations. Penetrate administration. Blackmail German. I mean, you just give us 40. So, I mean, why would I not take you? Because if it gives us 40, that just pays for the other two. Which seems really nice. So, you know, I'm happy to take it. Now, again, if we had... we get 0.5 a day. Like, our actual command power gain is actually pretty good. So you can probably do multiple of these at the same time. Now, when it comes to, like, the bigger minigame, like, you know, when we played as the US in TNO, which probably, I don't even know when that was. It was probably like a year ago at this point now. I think it was actually last summer. But anyways, the minigame when you go into Madagascar, I'm assuming that what we do kind of assists them in some way. Okay, the Queen of the Netherlands is dead. There was an election in Uruguay as well. Drilling for the sake of drilling. A sharp sound pierced through Edward's head as he worked. He grumbled under his breath. Imagining this icy field would be pretty peaceful if there weren't working here. A couple of yards away was a snow tractor with a powered auger mounted to it. It was in the midst of drilling through the ice, making a deep, clean hole. There were other large tractors and sleds plowing through the field. Pita drills melted the thickest areas. Steel machines unbothered by the environment. He finished, climbing out one of the tunnels. They worked on it for the past week, and it felt as if he was building a highway back home, except in the middle of nowhere. What was the point? Cold, howling wind bit his face as he walked, and it seemed hard to see and breathe. The workers weren't like the machines. He knew by experience. Then he heard a thud behind him, and he saw his fellow worker fall in the gates of the tunnel and rushed over. Ah, thank you, I just slipped. The dazed man muttered as he helped him up. Come on, Edward said. It's our break now. They both walked back to the tiny hut in the outskirts of the camp. They were given hot drinks and food. Entering a warm room always felt like walking into heaven. Breaks were mandated. Too much time outside and frostbite would take their fingers and toes. Edward sat away in the corner, and he munched on a sandwich and tried to ignore the wind battering the thin walls. The radio spoke of a bad weather for the next few days. You know, music came on, and Edward was glad. There was a little contact with the outside world, with how strict secrecy was. What did they need to hide in the building tunnels anyway? Endless tunnels, testing Arctic construction techniques, they said. But while he didn't ask questions, Edward observed. Officers talked in hushed voices with each other. They planned and hid secrets like the holes in the ground meant more than just a drilling practice. Questions continued floating without any answers. Okay, so we have more points. What are we at right now? Okay, we have good militarization, which I'm very happy to get back into this. So we want to survey territory. And again, supplies are great. By the way, does anybody know if it makes any difference? I mean, this also gives 14 for 7. Maybe doing it in my own territory is not actually better and I'm stupid. Oh, you know why? It's because I was spending these points. I was spending the intelligence. And honestly, I don't even know why I was doing that. Actually, this seems bad. Like, my guess is presumably the other countries, Japan, Germany, for example, don't get the same supplies that we do. Okay, Italy has won the Italian-Turkish War. You know what actually might have happened, like thinking about it now, where things were a little bit broken, is I wonder if events were playing out earlier than they were supposed to because of the patch that I broke. Possible. In Tolier, under Reich control in the colony of Madagascar, General Major Detteville Hoffman, a German officer, wiped his brow of sweat as he entered into his command tent. The muggy jungle air, not something that Low Saxon was used to, was getting to his head, making the already near insoluble problem of German power in Madagascar yet worse. Suddenly, Detlev was distracted from his reveille by an unfamiliar envelope on his desk. A manila envelope. It had no identifying marks, except for a sigil of the Organization Free Nations. Opening it, he muttered to himself, what on earth would these Americans have to? And he turned gillid when his contents spilled out. Stifling an oath, the officer examined all the contents, many detailing the minutiae of his personal life, including a note marked with an OFN stamp on it, all the while looking furtively to his left and his right. He wondered how the Americans had gotten to know these things about him. As he read the note and felt a growing sense of doom, we have enough to ruin you. You would do well to cooperate. Await further instructions. Detlit Hotman obeyed. He was not to question why. That is going to be me. Very, very soon. Because, and look, we got our command power back. Because, like I've said a few times now, I have a lot of military points. Maybe we want to do something with that. I've said this a few times, but in 2 weeks' time, a little less than 2 weeks actually now, I will be flying out. I'll be flying out of the country. I'll be going to we'll be spending like a month in Taiwan. And as somebody who has never really left Southern Ontario, I will say I'm a very unworldly man. Okay, I am 28 years old. I have never even been on a plane. I've never been to an airport. I've gone nowhere. The furthest I've been from where I was born is New York City, and that's not an exotic location. But you know, when you look up comparisons from, you know, let's say Toronto to Taipei in terms of temperature and humidity, I'm not built for the conditions there. It's going to be horrible. That'll be fun. Redacted. From Colonel John C.H. Lee to Vice Admiral William Reborn. Analysis and time of development. You are hereby directed to supervise development of the interconnected ballistic missile at McMurdo Station under the codename Project Iceman. I know what the codename is. Teams of specially selected and vetted scientists will be relocated to McMurdo to facilitate development. Teams will work in isolation under information blackout. Team leaders will have minimal contact with each other, and this project is to proceed with the utmost secrecy. Missiles must be capable of launch from blank locations and can be stored and maintained for long periods of time, in excess of 1 year, in blank conditions. Specifications as to the rocket's dimensions and capabilities begin on page 10 of the previously disputed documents. McMurdo has been chosen for this project because it represents a close information circuit and because you are there. We cannot afford to shuffle you out of the base lest our enemies take notice and investigate Project Iceman. This is a matter of utmost national security, and you will do your best and the brightest of the OFN at your disposal. We have every confidence in your ability to accomplish this task. Fuck me. Okay. A new document is available in the Project GUI. Expand facilities. 100. I mean, again, we have the political power. Well, first, let's bolster supply in all of these. Because, again, supply is not our issue. Right? We're actually finished green here, which is good. View progress reports. How are you guys doing? We got delays. Very cool. Very cool. Let's I mean, we have a decent militarizations. You know, let's increase security here. I think that seems good. You're gonna be flying around the world in a few weeks. Tough time. Yeah, I've never been on a plane, and it's a direct flight from it's a direct flight from Toronto to Taipei. It's a 16-hour flight, so that can be fun. High humidity is terrible. Yeah. You know what's actually... You know what? I will... Let's see if I can actually... I want to show this on stream. But I'm so bad at setting these up properly. Like, I'm actually horrible at it. Because I was going to compare... I was going to show, like, the comparison in humidity between these two places. But I'm not going to pull that up. But basically, the humidity in Taipei in April is worse than the humidity is where I live, you know, near Toronto, during the peak of summer. I am not built for humidity. Get a few good books and movies. I couldn't fall asleep on a 14-hour flight to Japan. Thing is, the lucky thing for me is that my sleep schedule is horrible. You know, again, it's 2:35 in the morning. My sleep schedule is fucked. So maybe that actually benefits me in some capacity. And I mean, our flight does leave at like 1 a.m. So, I mean, if you wake up at a normal time, like, I assume I'm going to fall asleep on the plane in some capacity, but we'll see. Skin in the game! Vice Admiral Reedy ran down the hall to Reborn's office carrying a sheaf of papers in his hands, weaving between the confused staff at McMurdo as he navigated the cramped corridors. While he arrived at the heart of McMurdo, he didn't even bother knocking as he burst in. The German regime in Madagascar is collapsing, said Reedy. Reborn stood frozen with a cigarette sticking out his mouth. Well, he said, the Black Death has gotten the Death's hand in the end, then. Reedy stepped in and laid the files on Reborn's desk. The island is rapidly splintering into competing factions. General Field Marshal Enrid Milch has rallied the die-hard loyalists in the west awaiting support from Germany. The native rebellions have consumed the north of the island, and Rip Spooks have reported the Japanese have their hand in this as well. And for our part, have we gained a foothold? Yes, in the southeast. The tattered remnants of the former administration and the group of locals, including some French sympathizers, have thrown in their lot with the OFN. So, if we have some skin in the game, how quickly can we transport a portion of our divisional complement to Madagascar? Our transports are in the process of refueling and equipment, and soldiers are awaiting to embark. All we have to do is wait your orders. Operations to resupply and aid our field divisions are available under the command staff tab. So I'm going to assume this is the command staff tab, right? I mean, it looks like it. So presumably this is going to be like the next step here. But I don't think there's anything else we can really do right now. I think Australia is losing a bit of control. I mean, at 15. And I mean, cohesion again, it's dipping. So we're going to spend 1-2 on this. I don't like spending it, but we're going to have to live with it. Reached almost 90% humidity. Yeah, I hate the I hate the humidity. I sweat easily. It sucks. Okay, so these are done in 12 days. There's not like a different screen that I'm missing. What the hell is this? Oh, okay. I think it's just lore. Adventure's Desire. Yeah, it's not easy. Sounded the thick French accent of one General Marshal Bigard, puffing on his cigar. Being of the Free French, holding the Cross of Lorraine is an honorable duty, but bogged down in West Africa with no hopes of sight for purging darkness in the motherland, that's enough to make a man weep, no? That is why the agency has come with you with an offer, monsieur. You and your men services in return for our money. Washington's pockets are deep. Practically whatever you want. Agent Robertson was particularly composed, save for a gravelly pitch that Marcel put down to the strain of a long journey. He was not privy to how the Americans squinted at him behind his shades. No. The mercenary general shook his finger. I won't be wheeled in on some mad scheme, ordered by Americas into a death trap and inferno. Money? That is one thing. Death? Death without point or purpose? It would be a sad thing to die, Robert. A nameless man. One whom history does not shine on. Rip gave Marcel a long, hard, studying look. Here he was, a man who, without complaint, had become nameless, featureless, fading into an image, a symbol. Well, Rip mused calmly, restraining his annoyance. If money isn't enough incentive, and I know it isn't exactly a conquistador bullion, but the might of America is nothing to sniff at, is it not? All resistance would be obliterated, hiding bombs in baskets while we rained it from the sky. With our material and area support for your men, defeat is an improbability. And besides, is Madagascar not rightful French territory? I'd better not regret this. We can be able to send one more volunteer division to the colony of Madagascar and dependencies. Okay, so we've got our division here. Fantastic. So I'm assuming, is that you? No, because you're a puppet of the fascist government. You're founder of the Triumvirate. That doesn't sound right. Again, I don't know if this is. Are you broken too? Every single country is a part of the Triumvirate. Oh, and also a dependent member of the OFN. I don't. Okay, the mod might be a little bit broken. I'm not too sure. Does this apply to everybody? Is it getting applied to me? I just want to see. GDP growth. This, I don't know if this is actually real or if this is just broken. I guess I mean, if everybody is getting the bonuses and debuffs, I guess it doesn't matter to anybody. If everybody is super, then nobody is. Anyway, are you at war yet? No. But who can I send volunteers to? Because you're Free France. You don't have a... No, you don't have a puppet. You have a puppet in Dahomey. Okay, that doesn't really help me out too much. Low stat. Our legitimacy is dog shit. It's at 5 points right now, which is really bad. Region will go up. Again, we spend the legitimacy first. But we're going to be getting a large... Because each one of these is 14. So that's what? 30, 60... And then 4 times 6 is 24. So we should get like 84 points off this, I think. In due time. Yep, I mean, the legitimacy is not great. I'll be honest, I don't think we're playing this minigame very well. We probably could be doing better. The Wrath of the Electorate. We gained 50 legitimacy. Oh, that's great. On the streets of Washington, typical sounds of protest could be heard. The whistling of police officers in a vain effort to direct the human traffic. The angry shells of popular slogans. No Americans in Antarctica, they decried. Stop the American Empire! The ranks of such protests would typically be filled with bearded hippies in tie-dye shirts. This march, however, did not have a premeditating smell of marijuana, nor the persistent presence of bored college students. This protest was filled with ordinary folks. The sort of folks who are taken seriously by other ordinary folks, and most importantly, politicians. In Canberra and Wellington, similar demonstrations played out. Demands for the end of American administration in Antarctica, and calls for exclusive Australian and New Zealand administration in their respective Antarctic territories could be heard from Parliament buildings. The Germans, taking advantage of the situation, had accidentally conducted various combat drills all over OFN Antarctic waters. I made a point to apologize to Australians, New Zealanders, and French of all people for separate instances through their territory. The emergency diplomatic efforts are no longer available. Oh, is it? Did we go below 0? It's because we hit 0. We hit 0 on legitimacy. Oh, that's so fucking funny. Awesome. Bale stepped us across the metal bridge built on the top of the Antarctic ice. His boots tapping along the metal as he walked, as if it was a very slow drum roll announcing his return. His trip home to Sydney was excellent. He needed to get away from the ice, away from the cold, away from the politics, and back to his family. All the personnel in this OAA were regularly rotated out to ensure one's physical and mental well-being, and leadership was no exception. But he knew his obligations, and he was needed here once more. He walked inside the station, a blast of warm air hitting him, and he felt a sense of dread as he walked towards his office. It was a similar feeling to one realizing they were waking up from a pleasant dream. The surreal joy fading to a humdrum of reality. As he entered his office, he hung up his coat and took off his gloves, and he slipped on his boots and set them in the closet. Resigned to his own fate of a few more months here, he walked to his desk and sat down. He noticed his desk. Someone had left a note that read, "Welcome back, Beale, we missed you," next to a plate of cookies. Chocolate chip. He couldn't help but smile a little. He took a bite of a cookie and said, "All right, let's get back to work." Australia gets a little bit more control of the territory, that's fine. So this, I mean, once these are done, then we should hit 100. If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we can't let these drop down to where they were before. That was not... It's not where we want to be. United Arab Kingdom. Who? Okay. I don't feel like we've seen that one before. I've been a fool. I have been a fool. I've made mistakes. The short man in a stuffy gray uniform side. Monumental ones. His observer silently pondered if the contrast was greater between the European uniform and the treacherous jungle that it could not bend to its will, or the iron uniform with its squirming wearer. The man turned around to face his observer. A slight nervous smile of keeping confidence. Warm and comfort was found within sight of that shadow. A black suit and glass of a CIA agent. Perhaps it had been a while since the man had a silent, patient listener. There were a few priests that Nazi bureaucrats could confess to on Madagascar. Now I realize I had never meant to high-rise, being gross in ambition that got me sent to this place. He spat, and I am at peace with that. I have gained clearer understanding. Barthold Otto, confidant of America, asset to your prestigious agency, a loyal defector to a superior side. Thank you for listening. The agent almost flinched at how loud he was talking. Almost. Words were exchanged, codes, plans, secrets. Never the whole picture, just enough for this little man to play a big role as he so desired. Desired? The agent pondered if Otto spoke a word of truth. Self-interest motivated his actions that led to exile in all but name. And now he took it to the winning side. In the end, so long as he did as he told, mattered little if Otto was loyal. Servant to no one. Oh, so that both of those finished now? Yes, okay. How many points? So these are all 30, so it costs a little bit more. Gain more intelligence and intelligent caps on German territory. 50 hour experience, which honestly I don't think I'm at 98. I don't need it. Sure, let's do some enhanced interrogation. Let's torture some Germans. Words. It's only thanks to a series of sleepless nights that the Malagasys could find any sleep in their camp. Amid the torrents of rain, tiredness and night swallowed up the revolutionary passion and fires. They belonged to the day. Here and now, rain churned up and made malleable the fiercest surface, and darkness crept into the man's world, taking it all bit by bit. The faint sound of footsteps was barely audible by the guards, as they broke up weakened mounds of dirt. It was the black outline that they saw approaching. It was a sight that agreed with them, one they had expected. The quiet grins and restrained jovially, they patted the stiffly standing a shadow on the back and let it in. The shadow woke no one and said nothing. The sound of feet landed in the puddles was masked by the very rain that had created it. To the eyes of anyone or thing that cared to look, the shadow was like any other thing, going about its private little life, indistinguishable from the napping man or the rat in the trash. The shadow entered, reluctantly lowered its drenched hood, revealing the American agent beneath. He planted a suitcase on top of a desk. Behind it sat a militiaman like any other. Behind him stood a red, white, green Republican flag. In truth, its real colors had been red, white, and blue. I hope that you do not get too wet on your journey, the asset said, eyeing on the cash. Be at your disposal of your agency. And the shadow left the way that it had came. Again, we have our division. We send you once the war Madagascar has actually begun, but unfortunately it hasn't actually started yet. Not yet, at least. Counter coup in the Philippines. But when exactly do you break apart? I don't quite remember. I really hope that this is not completely broken. It would be really funny if even like going back to the old version of the mod is also broken, but we'll see. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything is horribly broken, even though again the Uruguayan events didn't actually occur this time around. A long distance. And what about socks? You been keeping your socks dry? Edward tried to keep his sighs from being heard on the phone. His mother continued on and on with the questions. Yes, Ma, and I wear all the sweaters too. I'm telling you, I'm good. His voice grew quieter and kept glancing at the guard standing rigid by the door. Monitored calls were a bit more awkward than he expected. I'm sorry, Eddie. It's just, well, I'm just really glad you're okay. Things back here have been, messy, Her tone softened. Edward could imagine her face right now. Things are always messy back home. Never mind the protests or the police. Sometimes they had to worry about finding dinner. And yet, Ma seemed to never falter. Edward didn't feel that he could ever be as strong. Yeah, I know, Ma. I know, he said. Say, has the money I sent reached you? Before she could answer, he heard the phone snatched. Eddie, it's me, Connie. His little sister voice blared on the phone. She announced herself as if he couldn't recognize her. Hey, sis, he answered, and hid his disappointment. He really wanted to know if the money had helped. All he had got was Ma shouting in the backyard as his little sister recounted her day to him. Edward rolled his eyes. His sister and Ma weren't very different. They're both talkative, but yeah, he liked to listen. It almost felt like home. Wait, Connie, where's Aeneas? Did she pass? Has she graduated yet? Edward asked as a joke. His older sister, Aeneas, was smarter than anyone he knew. Of course she graduated. Ma took the phone. Aeneas is at a protest, she said. Edward gulped. Protests were dangerous. But all right. Silence hung between them. Eddie, she's okay. She's going to be okay. Edward tried to listen to the reassurance. The officer at the door gave him a sympathetic look, tapping his watch. The time was up. He said his goodbyes, and the distance felt longer than ever.